Monday, April 15, 2024. Breakfast was my usual, including the last very ripe banana. I decided to increase my vitamin C, zinc, and double my multi. Given what is and isn't happening, I didn't want to get sick. Stress can lower your resistance. I had to admit I was a little paranoid about catching a bug under these conditions. I decided to start wearing an N95 breathing mask if around people, and tell them I had the cold. I hoped that would keep them at a distance. It had been very quiet on my street, but then I hadn't been out front much. Just in case I have to bug out or bug in and defend, I started to actively get some things done that were easy, but would save precious time later, like what I did with saving water when I could. My neighbor Alice came over when I was working in the open garage. I walked out to meet her in my driveway. She looked worried when she saw the mask, but I told her it was purely defensive. She thought that was a good idea. I told her she could have one if she wanted. Alice is the only neighbor Mary and I ever really got to know and like on the street. She was a friendly older lady who lives alone. I didn't know much about her, but I think her parents had been very wealthy and she had lived on a trust fund all of her adult life. When Mary was alive, Alice invited us over many times for drinks and socializing. She was very smart, funny, and loved her vodka martinis. I'd helped her out around her place from time to time over the years. We chatted about the outage and she said everything was going okay. I told her about the government messages, but not the chatter or BBC News, and that if she needed anything, to please ask and I'd help her. Just knock on the door, because the electric doorbell wasn't working. We laughed at the joke. We started to talk about our neighbors on the street. I called Alice the mayor of Red Bluff Lane. She knew most everybody and their business. She said the Levys left 2 days ago to go to Glendale to be with the wife's mother who lived alone. She saw the Cattells and Simpsons leave yesterday. Didn't know where they were going, but that their cars were packed. The Goldsteins were on vacation in Europe, and Johnson was on one of her many business trips. There were 2 other households who always left in the morning and drove into their garage in the evening. They were never seen on the street, and she didn't know anything about them. Okay, so that left me, Alice, a female couple, Howard Schmidt and his wife, the neighborhood jerk I had named Dick, and his nasty big-butt girlfriend I called Fanny, the party couple renters, and maybe the 2 phantom neighbors. 6, maybe 8 households still on the street. As we were talking, Schmidt came walking across the street. He was a little man who seemed somewhat odd. I knew him enough to wave. He came up the driveway and we all greeted each other. And he said their bottled water was almost gone and did I have any extra. I didn't answer his question, but told him about the many gallons in his water heater, how to tap it and treat it. I told him about pool water too. He looked shocked. Got any food? He asked. Before I could ignore his question, Alice changed the subject. We talked a few minutes more about the events and he left to go back home. Did he even know my name? I don't like him, Alice said. As she prattled on about something, my mind flashed to thoughts of things going badly on the street if the power and water didn't come back on soon. I really didn't know any of these neighbors except Alice. Were they prepared for what is going on? I can't help them all, I thought. Am I prepared for what may come next? I'm going to have to keep that in mind and come up with a solid contingency plan. Before she left, Alice gave me the key to the Goldstein's house in case I ever needed it. I tried Fred again on one of our channels. No luck. I did hear more chatter about people starting to go nuts. I knew a little about human nature, so on some level this chatter made sense. It doesn't take much to send some folks off the deep end. Put them under a little stress and boom! I saw that in vivid detail at the intersection yesterday. There were also rumors that all the power generation and distribution nationwide was hit by a computer virus from North Korea. The other rumor was that most of our grid control, power generation, and switching equipment was made in China, and that they all had Trojan horse chips that were activated to blow out the entire power grid nationwide. If true, it would be weeks or even months before the power was restored. This is bad, very bad, end of America bad. I tuned in the BBC and they had the same stories, though they'd said nothing had been proven. They said the power was out in parts of southern Canada and northern Mexico too. Next I turned to the emergency channel and heard the very same two FEMA messages I had heard for the past 2 days. Nothing new and totally worthless. No mention of relief, repair, status, cause, nothing. Whoever was in charge of fixing whatever was going on wasn't saying much. It didn't give me any hope or encouragement, only a sense of dread. I live a few miles off an LAX departure route, Gorman 4, and noticed there were far fewer planes leaving and far fewer arrivals on Saddle 6 approach. This was true for flyover contrails as well. I also noticed an increase in private plane traffic outbound from the local civil airport. Around 4 p.m., I heard the sound of heavy helicopters approaching. About 20 seconds later, 2 gray Navy Sea Stallions flew over the valley from the west at about 3 or 4 miles distant and continued east until out of sight. Was it a sign that everything is well? The government is still in power and help is on the way? Or is it that the mayor and his family are being evacuated? Except for the sirens of local law enforcement, this was the only evidence of authority I had experienced in 4 days. I didn't like this one bit. I felt like a mushroom, kept in the dark and fed crap. If things were as bad as I suspect, they would naturally get worse, a lot worse. I wasn't hungry tonight, but snacked on the few carrots and celery stalks that were left. The never-ending sound of sirens made me anxious. I went to bed early.